right, hello everybody, and welcome to Roll for Opinion. I am your co-host Gabby,
And I am Keaton Kai.
and today we are going to be reviewing an actual little indie TTRPG that just released last fall, 2025, so not even a year yet, called Vagabond. If you Google it, make sure you Google Vagabond TTRPG, because otherwise you'll get the manga and not the actual game. Before we get into the review itself, when we talk about the game, a couple of quick reminders. If you guys like our conversations and our content, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out. We have a YouTube channel, which is the first thing that we made, but we also have a Spotify account, also called Roll for Opinion. So if you guys rather just like listen instead of watching us talk, then I recommend going to the Spotify. And so let's talk a little bit about Vagabond. It is a pulp fantasy old school revival game. It is making waves in the internet and in the community. A lot of people are really excited about this. It was developed and designed by Tyron Pounds and Destructive Boy. Again, in the fall of 2025 released. And it is supposed to be a rules light D20 system, kind of like an old school revival. So kind of punishing, a little bit more brutal. And we'll get into our thoughts regarding that soon enough. My experience with Vagabond is I played a one-shot that Caden DM'd as a level 3 druid. And then the game is also designed as a solo co-op type dungeon crawler. In the back of the book itself, I don't have the book. Do you have the book there?
Got it right here.
It's a nice looking book. Yeah, it's really nice.
Blur caught it.
Oh, there we go. Nice. It's a bit blurred, but in the back of the book, if you guys own the book, there's like a solo campaign that you can play. I played a couple of rounds of that with different classes just to try out different classes. Great way to learn the rules. It is very punishing. I did not beat it once. Did you get to play the solo?
I did. I don't have the attention span by myself. I kind of like need other people. I tried it, and then my mind was like, "Oh, wait, did I leave the oven up?" And I'm off doing other things.
Yeah. No, I mean it's fun for a few. It gets really repetitive, especially if you keep rolling. It's generative, so you roll the rooms and stuff and the enemies. If you keep rolling the same enemies or traps, I get really bored. But did you get to the boss?
No, I didn't get past the second room. That was it. I literally have I have the attention span of a fly. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Bad.
But besides that, how else did you play Vagabond so the audience knows?
Okay, so my first time playing Vagabond was DMing Vagabond for you and a few other people we met on the Vagabond Discord. Which honestly, the community is all about the game, so that says a lot about it already. The community is really into what was made. So, yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge.
Oh yeah, so we're going in on this not as much as as experienced as with like Daggerheart. We're reviewing this game more on like first impressions, kind of seeing like what initially we liked and what we didn't like. Now our setup is going to be a little bit different compared to Daggerheart, where instead of just kind of rambling, which is fine too, but I thought maybe it might be fun to like break things down into categories and kind of like as the name says, we roll for opinion.
Literally.
So I have a couple categories here, Caden. Would you roll me a d20 and we'll see what we get?
Okay. I got my dice tray.
We got the dice tray. We got to edit something to put in the dice.
I know. I got a 20 though.
You got a nat 20.
Yeah.
That's
that D20 rate. Oh, you can't even see it.
That's crazy. Oh, that's wild. You know what's also I'm so sorry. I messed this up. It should have been a D12, not a D20.
Oh, we could do it again.
Let's do it. Yeah, this is like an actual game where as a DM you say like, "Oh wait, that's not what you were supposed to roll."
Happens to me all the time. Happened earlier tonight. Just running a game. I get things wrong all the time. I got 11. I don't know
11. Okay, so you were close to a nat right there at the highest. Okay, so I guess it doesn't change much. We're gonna go straight into the peaks and the pits, or the peak and the pit of the game. So one thing you really, really liked about this game, and one thing you really didn't like about this game.
one thing I really liked. Oh my goodness. There was a bunch of things I really liked, but to pick, I didn't know I was gonna have to pick one. Okay,
Okay.
off the top, it's definitely the character options. I like the idea of perks. Not
Yeah.
not only does it have like a hundred classes and then the class options, but it's got these things called perks that could help build your character the way you want it with unique things that are kind of similar to other classes. What I'm getting.
They're kind of like feats,
Yeah.
and I forget the other words that people use. Features, I guess. Where like, yeah, you just pick a couple to customize your character, and it adds a lot of uniqueness to the character.
Because that's like one of the main things I couldn't stand about like OSR games is like I really want to get into them because I love the simplicity of it. I love the like inherent danger of having the low hit points and never knowing what the monster is going to be or if it's going to be like for your level because there's none of that going on. But I don't like the culture of because it's you can homebrew it, but I don't like the culture of not customizing your character the way you want. I don't want a random
Yeah.
character. And I don't want them to die at level 1. So
It's very, yeah, because the OSRs tend to be very generic, right? It's like 4 classes and that's it.
yeah, and you roll all your stats. So you pick. The only thing you pick is really just your class, and you do that off of what your stats were rolled. I don't like that.
I actually kind of do like that. Mothership is a little bit like that, but that's for another time. No, I agree. I think making the classes, choosing the perks, and we have a section for that too. But it's one of the best parts of this whole game. When I played that druid, I was like, I wanted him to be a herbalist, so I picked a herbal practitioner or something like that, something where I can like heal my party by picking herbs. That's great flavor right there. My peak, however, was the spell system, the spell casting system for the game, where you're able, and I think this is like what everybody says, and I'm sorry if we sound like parrots here, but being able to pick any spell of your choosing as a spellcaster and then customizing how you want to cast that spell in the game is so good. It's amazing. It gets rid of like the boringness of certain spells when you play D&D, where you're like, well, there's like a handful of spells that are really useful to me, and those are the only ones I'll ever play. This you can like customize and how much damage you deal, if you're going to deal damage, what the effect is going to be, if you're going to target multiple characters, if it's going to be an area of effect spell. It's really good.
That's right there. That's right up there with my choice too. I like that. I like that too. In fact, I think I'm going to steal that when I make my TTRPG. Is the being able to cast anything. I want customizable spells too, though, like kind of like Savage Worlds, but that's for another.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of, also some of the spells are wacky. And Flesh is one of my favorites. That one is where like you can turn anything that's like metal, wood, or concrete into flesh, bone, and nails. Right. And in Caden's one shot, he had this crypt, and everybody's like, okay, let's loot some of the tombs. And I just decided to be a little chaotic person and say like, wait a second, I got a spell for this. And I just turned a tomb into a giant sack of flesh. And I thought that was pretty funny. But also, well, it does the whole spell, the customizable spell system is really cool and great. It is a bit of I feel like of a learning curve if you're a new player, because all of a sudden you have all these options available to you, and you do have to do a little bit of math as to how much mana, as the spells work through mana points instead of spell slots, how much mana you're going to use to cast the actual spell. And that can slow your game down.
I feel like everything I do like kind of segues my thoughts into the things that I don't. You know, like there's they're hand in hand with this system. Like the things that I do like are hand in hand with the things that I don't like. So there's a couple things
Yeah,
connected.
there's pros and cons. Yeah. What's the pit though? The pit of the game.
The
The thing
pit,
you like the least. Yeah.
the thing I liked the least was like the encounter building. I know it was like supposed to be vague for a reason that we're not supposed to think about it, but I do. Like I do
Yeah.
it with every system I play. It is like part of the thing. And for and I'm not looking for I'm me personally I'm not looking for a game that I'm going to play like one shots here and there with. So like I look for games where I'll run like, you know, at least small arcs where it lasts like 7-8 sessions at the least or longer. So
Yeah.
I need there to be guidance on how that goes. You know, how
Yeah.
do I drag this character from here to there, or you know, or most of them, not all of them. We don't have to. Some people.
Yeah. No, the book didn't have that good of an encounter builder. It kind of just gives you the creatures, and you know, if you're not as an experienced as a GM as a lot of people can be, then you're gonna have a hard time figuring out, okay, how difficult is too difficult, because it's an OSR, right? You can make it really, really difficult,
Yeah.
and challenging for the players, but you also don't want to kill them
And granted,
immediately.
that I don't. That wasn't his intentions, anyways. He doesn't. He really did not care for that to be in there at all. I think so. Like he wanted it to be vague and don't worry about that. And most of the monsters are there to get beat up on, and run it pulpy. And he said, don't overthink it. And you know, he did exactly what he set out to do in the book. So like
Yeah.
like that, my personal dislike of it is not like that he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Like the book does what it intended to do. I just wasn't my kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My pit is, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I don't have the physical book like you do, so I'm going off of a PDF. I do not like how this PDF is organized. It is a headache to go back and forth between creatures, spells, other types of rulings. My character, if I'm, you know, it's kind of like, wow, this. I had to have like 7 tabs open just to be able to quick look things up, and I was like, I can't stand this. This is too much. If I had the physical book, maybe it was easier, but again, realistically, not everybody has the budget for a physical book.
And dude, the wait time for the physical book is pretty long. The shipping on this whole thing sucks, and I know there's a lot of things going on right now. And even though everybody thinks it's over, it's not. Shipping is still a problem, and the money to print things is ridiculous. So you're paying you're paying a lot for these things, and the wait time is so long that you're gonna have to deal with the PDF if you want to just get right into it, and a PDF sucks. And I printed it out, and it was still like hard to. It was
Yeah, yeah. There's a thankfully, I think one of the better parts of the book is the fact that it has a quick guide at the very front and the back of the book.
yeah,
So
it's awesome.
that's nice. But like, if you're running a game and you got your creatures and your stat blocks, and I don't know, it's you're gonna go back and forth a lot, items, everything.
But I will
Too
say,
much.
the setup of the book itself is another one of the draws for me. I love this size book. I don't know what A something they call it, what A4 or A5. What is it? What is it? That
Oh, I'm not
size.
sure.
But the print size of the book is smaller, like the OSR books and like the zines, the size of the zines,
Yeah,
and I love that. I kind of wish this was like the target for all of them. Like I don't want it to be so wordy that you need a big D&D size book, because then I'm already like, oh man, another one. I want it small and light and just very well organized and
yeah.
comprehensive at the same time.
It's light and compact. I'll give it that, right? I mean, again, my complaint is with the PDF. The physical book itself, I feel like it's nice if you can flip through the pages.
Dude, you got to get this thing, because the vibe on this whole book is actually really cool. It's the artwork is insane. I love the vibe, the artwork, the old school kind of the vibe to the font and how it's all set up. It's like it does it for me. Like the
Well,
book itself was well made.
yeah. No, it's supposed to be. I guess I didn't say this in the beginning. It's on the book. It's a pulp fantasy. It's idealistically supposed to be reminiscing of pulp fantasy. And for those who aren't familiar with pulp fantasy, think of back. Well, if you're an older generation, you would know what it is. But think of back of like Conan the Barbarian, and that type of era of fantasy, and that's what it's going for. And I think it succeeds. It gets the aesthetic right on.
I love pulp.
Yeah.
I couldn't wrap my head around pulp fantasy because I feel like Conan the Barbarian is more sword and sorcery, but it's also
Well, it's an aesthetic, right? Like it's
yeah. Pulp, I feel like is Indiana Jones, but I can't mash that with fantasy. I still don't wrap my head around it.
yeah.
But I get the idea of pulp. It's like it's action, fast paced, intense, beat up the bad guys, do a corny punchline.
Yeah. I like very, very action oriented.
Yeah.
And the book also has. This is one of my favorite things about the whole book and the way they've designed the game is that it lists inspirations at the beginning of the book about what inspired this whole game, and it also for each of the classes, each of them have an inspiration as to like what types of characters were represented. And so you'll just find something for everything. So suffice to say, I also really like the art. So some of the maybe we'll post some of these. I'm not sure throughout like the recording, but the characters, the art for the characters, really great, really stunning. Some of my favorite stuff. I really liked. There's one of them. Let me see if I can find it right here. The Barbarian's cool, and then we also have the Revelator, which is one of the Dracona. It's like basically their version of the Paladin. That art is really cool, and I have to say it captures that idea, that aesthetic of pulpy fantasy. Reminds me a little bit of Adventure Time as well, like the cartooniness and the silliness of it.
Love that show.
I love that show. I'm a big fan of that show. They're making a TTRPG, or they already. I think it got kickstarted. I don't remember. Yeah.
Honestly, it's got such a big following, and he spent a lot of time on this, and I can't see anybody just walking away from something like this. So even though I think it's not as comprehensive as I want it to be, or like as detailed in the rules as I want it to be, I feel like there's definitely going to be another edition. He's already doing print runs that kind of change up some of the rules a little bit. And he says the next one is the final print run. But I wouldn't be surprised if in like a year and a half or 2 years, there was like a little bit thicker book than this coming out, or a set of books.
He's gonna make another one. He was streaming the development for the other one, with like new ancestries and new classes. One of them was like one of the ones I saw in his stream that I got really excited for was the Dragoon, which is inspired like by Final Fantasy. It's a video game, Final Fantasy like class, and it's supposed to be like a dragon warrior essentially.
Yes.
But more fast paced. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So he's working on another one. We actually knocked out 2 categories without rolling for them.
Nice.
We knocked out book contents / structure, and then we knocked out flavor / art / inspiration.
That's the thing with these. Like, it might have structure going in, but I swear, once we get talking, this is what we love. Like, this is our hobby, so it's kind of hard to not just like dive into the conversation and stay organized.
Yeah. It's good to have a little bit of structure because it's eventually you're like, oh well, what do we talk about now? We can roll for it.
Yeah. Which we should do. We should have another
yes,
roll.
Yes. It's another roll, so this time it's going to be a D6. Roll me a D6.
D6. 2.
2? Okay. So we're going to go into general gameplay mechanics. And what I mean by that is not combat. So more like exploration, mechanics that enable role play, the stats, what are the stats looking like? Like, how does this game play? And yeah, I can start off by kind of saying to everybody listening to this, you know, in D&D, you roll your D20 and your GM sets the check, and they tell you like you pass it, you didn't pass it, and it has its upsides and its downsides. The main downsides are kind of like sometimes the GM just makes it up on the fly, and other times the GM will immediately, as soon as they make it up, if you failed it and they wanted you to succeed, they'll lower it, right? I think GMs, we can all be guilty of that if it fits the narrative well.
Yeah.
The other games have like a roll under system where they roll a D100 and you have stats that add up to it. And the idea is that you roll under your stat. So the higher your stat is, the better it is for you. But that's kind of not as common. Also, if you've ever rolled a D100 in an actual game, it's like 2 dice. It's a percentile dice and it's not as good. Or you have an actual D100 and that never stops rolling.
Yeah.
So what Vagabond does, which I think was genius, and this is what I think about the gameplay mechanic as a player, is that, you know, the book tells you how to calculate and set up your stat and your skills. And it's a D20 system where you, the player, you roll the D20. And then if you meet or beat your stat, then you passed. So this like helps with, one, the GM doesn't have to do as much. So the player now controls like, okay, what am I checking for? And is it a good idea for me to do this or not? And two, it gets rid of what a lot of roll under systems suffer from, which is that players don't like rolling low numbers. Right. I think a lot of players, this happened with me with Mothership. A lot of them were like, I got a 1. I was like, that's actually the best thing you could have gotten. And they're like, it's like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't like that. But you know, so this way the game, there's a little bit of a simple math that goes in the background that actually reverses that. So you can still roll a high number and get exactly what you want to get.
Yeah. And we're D&D programmed, so a lot of these systems kind of got to fight against that programming.
You know? Yes, and this game helps a little.
Yeah, I find that whenever I do something new, it's like I'm like I gotta tell myself this isn't like D&D. That might not be the same thing I would do next in that game. Isn't what I should do in this game.
Yeah,
but the mechanics with the gameplay, I will say that. All of the combat mechanics were kind of like hard for me to grasp at first, but I got a hold of them. What I couldn't get is outside of it, keeping track of the dungeon turn. Basically, it's like the little pie chart to do the
So because you're talking about the solo campaign, right?
No, you're supposed to do that in you're supposed to do that in the regular campaign. Everything is divided into progress clocks. The dungeon and
I had no idea.
You do random encounters. Oh, let me bring up the durations. Oh wait, no.
As for the people who don't know, while Caden looks that up, you are supposed, at least for the solo campaign, you make a progress clock that you fill up after a certain amount of time. And the solo campaign, it's after a scene, but a scene is loosely defined as 10 minutes in game. And then it just becomes, to me, it was also confusing because I would be running the solo campaign and I'd be like, okay, when has a scene occurred? Because just going through a trap or just going into a room and leaving a combat encounter might not be a scene. Or even if you resolve, you know, a round of combat is like a couple seconds. So I agree that the combat tracking or like the time tracking of the game aspect of it is kind of confusing.